For 60 years, the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation has been making a positive impact in our community. You may have heard the name before, but you might not understand exactly how they are doing that. And today, we are going to shed some light on that in honor of their 60th anniversary. As we welcome to the studio Shannon Polk. She is President and CEO of the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation. How long have you been in the role now?
It's been 2 years.
Tell me about your background, because you're a Renaissance woman. You've done it all.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. So my background is that I am a licensed attorney in the state of Michigan, as well as being an ordained pastor with the Assemblies of God denomination.
How does that happen? How does someone do all of this?
Well, I had the blessing of being born and raised in Flint, Michigan. And so the Charles Stewart Mott Foundation has been there for a significant amount of time, and that was my first job in philanthropy. It's also a community that's really anchored with faith, a lot of varying faith traditions there, as well as a really strong legal community. So I probably was influenced by all three of those things growing up. And that just had an impression upon me. And, fortunately, I had an amazing public school education with teachers who said, you really can be anything and you can do everything you want to do. You just can't do it all at once.
Sometimes that's all it takes, though, someone to believe in you and to push you in that direction. You now here in Ann Arbor with the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation are guiding the great works that go on here with the foundation. For someone who's not familiar with foundation work and the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation in particular, how does this all come together, and what does it do for our community?
Sure. Thank you so much for asking that question, because I always like to explain to people what philanthropy is. So if you've ever had someone who had a loss in the family and you made a cake, or you made a donation to someone who had a fire and lost everything, that's philanthropy. Philanthropy at its core, it's defined the word as love of man, right? So it's the love that we show to one another through financial giving. And it shows up in a lot of different ways. Sometimes it shows up in time when you're tutoring someone who maybe needs a little extra help. So what the Community Foundation is, it's a concept that's over 100 years old. The first Community Foundation started in Cleveland. And the idea was, boy, wouldn't it be nice if we could gather the community together and have a way to pool our resources so every time something happened, there was a reservoir of capital that we could put towards good works. And so over time, as with most institutions, things become more formalized. And so what we are is a collection of over 700 funds that has been given to us through the donations of very generous people throughout Washtenaw County. And so we are a connection between that capital and nonprofits and students who need scholarship dollars across the community.
And many times within a foundation, there are specific funds that have been set up in honor of certain people. I know that families do that sort of thing. What part of that is the foundation work?
So I'm so glad you said that. So all of it is the foundation work, interestingly enough. So we have people are part of my team who are meeting with donors who are saying, hey, I want to do something in honor of an amazing teacher. And they'll start a community impact fund to help, increase awareness of certain scientific things. We may have people who are like, hey, I want to make sure that students are getting to college. And so they'll support what is our community scholarship fund. We have people saying, I really care about the environment. So they'll give to our community impact fund that supports the environment. Or they may say, I really care. I know you guys are doing good work, and I'm not sure what I want to give to, so I'm going to give you this money because you guys study this every day, and we trust you because you have a 60-year track record of doing good in the community and really working to improve the lives of the residents of Washtenaw County.
When you receive that money for a specific fund, then, are you investing it? Is it growing?
Oh, my goodness, yes, it is. So a couple of things happen. So, Lucy, if you were to come and say, hey, Shannon, I want to start this fund, I'm going to share with you the fact that our funds are managed. We have a firm that we work with, as well as a committee made up of community residents who have strong financial experience. They're on our investment and finance committee. We also have a separate audit committee for those of you that may be thinking about what's happening a little bit further east. So we have a lot of checks and balances when it comes. And I am proud to say that over the past few years, even with the downturn in the economy, we are doing very well. I think in 2021, our returns were like 22%.
Oh,
I don't
wow.
remember what they were last year, and I have to go back and talk to my CFO, but we're constantly making sure that that money is growing. And because it's part of a pooled fund, then it's growing faster than it would if you were just making a donation out of your own checking or savings account.
So this is money that grows in perpetuity.
Yes, because we operate off of the endowment model. So think of it like planting a seed. So you plant that seed in the ground, maybe it's, $5,000. And so over time, what happens to that? Well, we've got the impact of compound interest, but then you're being invested with us, and we're investing in equity, and we're investing in real assets, and so that money is growing. And so that $5,000 fund over time may grow to $20,000 or $50,000. And so now we're able to give even more money out into the community to do that, to make that investment that you trusted us with.
We're talking with Shannon Polk. She is president and CEO of the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation, now in its 60th anniversary year. Where are you located?
We are located on 301 North Main. Now, what I'm really excited about and happy to share with your listeners is that we actually purchased that building.
Congratulations.
Yes, it was so excited because being a new resident here, I was able to hear the history of the building, that at one point it had been a Montgomery ward, and at one point it had been the Dobson-McCumber building. And so now we own that, and we are anchored in Carytown, in the city of Ann Arbor, to be that philanthropic hub for Washtenaw County.
A lot of history there, and you're going to carry it forward. I understand also that your goals might be to also ensconce other nonprofits into the building?
Well, what we're looking at is being a home for philanthropy. So what we're looking at is, are there other smaller family foundations that may need a home? Because we have a lot of folks that, they're doing this work, but wouldn't it be great if we could all be connected and really strategic as to how we're all working together with our philanthropic capital? And it might also be nice if there were some philanthropic advisors that were part of that work, that when people are thinking about, hey, how do I do this? How do I invest my money? Who should we be partnering with to be able to have that information? What do I want my philanthropic legacy to be? And to be that philanthropic hub located in 301 North Main.
Do you have any concept how many family foundations there are in our community? Because I encounter them occasionally, and they're doing great work, but oftentimes they do it quietly because they've got a specific mission and they're driving that forward. And I just find it fascinating that people are so giving with their money.
It's incredible to have that. Now, you asked me for a specific number, and I have to call you back because we actually just did an analysis of who those
really?
are.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
So I don't want to give an incorrect number.
Are there a lot?
There are quite a few, which is interesting. But to your point, they're smaller, they're private, and so they're very directed based upon what that family is interested in.
Right.
And that's part of my thought about us having that philanthropic hub where we can come together. So if one family is really focused on arts and culture, well, how do we come alongside and make sure that all those arts and culture needs are being supported? But if another family is very interested in, let's say, the safety net services, how do we then make sure that those folks that are making sure that folks are clothed and fed and have sheltered, make sure that they're getting what they need? When I did this work in Flint, we worked very collectively together, the various philanthropic institutions, to ensure that those key programs were getting the resources that they needed. And I'd love to see us begin to do more of that here.
Shannon, 2 years now on board as the president and CEO of the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation. In your estimation, what are the greatest needs in our community right now?
Wow. I think everyone's going to talk about housing if you ask anyone on the street that question, right? I think the other need is and if you look at the numbers that came from United Way, the ALICE numbers, we are increasing with the ALICE population here in Washtenaw County. ALICE stands for Asset Limited Income Constrained. And so when we look at those individuals, we're really talking about those folks that are working and still don't make enough money to pay all of their bills. Right now, those numbers in Washtenaw County are increasing in a way that most people would be surprised by. I was talking with some folks and I said, do you recognize that one out of every 20% of the children in the Ann Arbor Public Schools qualify for free and reduced lunch?
Is that right? Wow. That's incredible.
Right? And so what does that mean when you have poverty like that across the community? And the fact of the matter is that we have areas in this community where we're like, oh yeah, there's definitely poverty there. But there's poverty happening across the community. And part of our responsibility at the Community Foundation is to help understand that data and put that data out into the community so people are aware of what the challenges are and what the needs are. So we have a need for more support for those safety net services, a need for greater work and housing. But I think another area where there's also a real challenge is around economic development. Mm-hmm. We have incredible wealth in this community, and that's one of the reasons I was so excited to come work here. We're the second wealthiest county in our state. But the question is, how is that wealth getting out into some of those areas where there are transportation needs. When we think about seniors who need to age in place with dignity, right? What are we doing to help address transportation needs there? When we think about students, I think about students who've in foster care and have aged out of that system. How are we ensuring that they're able to continue when they don't have that support? Most of us can think about a time where we've had to lean on family to get support. Well, those students don't have any family. How are we making sure that they're able to complete their education, able to get a job, able to secure housing?
Mm-hmm. Important issues, very much so. Mm-hmm. And it is incredible work that the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation is doing. Along those lines, when we have this great need and we're in a wealthy community, trying to get that message out to people can be hard. And of course, they want to see that there's good stewardship of the money that they donate. Of course, we have our United Way of Washtenaw County as well. I know you work hand in hand with them, right?
Yeah. So after the United Way merged with the United Way of Southeastern
Michigan.
Right.
For Southeastern Michigan, right?
Yes. It was wonderful to begin to, to continue the relationship I had with Pam Smith, the leader of the United Way of Washtenaw County, wonderful woman, and to then continue that with Dr. Darian Hudson, who leads United Way of Southeastern Michigan. And we are having conversations about how we partner together. My predecessor had a wonderful relationship and established what I love as a good working agreement, which is the United Way is the community checking account, right? Mm-hmm. So those immediate needs, when you're thinking about, boy, how do we get food? How do we get backpacks filled? How do we get lunches prepared? The United Way is great at doing that. They have a system that works in getting that capital out really quick. But we're the community savings account.
That's a great way of looking at this. Yeah.
So we're that permanent capital that will be there over time. And that's why we work with that endowment model, which means that instead of, and I like to say it this way, Lucianne, think of it like a river, okay? And you've got a couple of people and they notice that there are babies in this river. And so they're like, oh my goodness, we've got to pull these babies out. And they start pulling those babies out, right? And they get more people to come alongside. We've got to get these babies out of the river. And then all of a sudden they look and they notice a couple of people walking upstream. They're like, hey, what are you guys doing? We're trying to take care of this problem right now. And those people say, you know what? It's great that we're pulling the babies out of the river. Somebody's got to go upstream and figure out who's throwing them in.
That is a great analogy.
Right? And so we've got the capital to be able to work on root causes. Yeah. Why are there so many people homeless in this community? Why are there such gaps when you look at economic improvement across race? Why are the health outcomes different depending on the zip code that you live in? Mm-hmm. And so we have the capital to be able to look at those root causes and begin to address that.
So how have those issues been impacted by the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation over these years?
I'm so glad you asked that question. So there are two programs I want to take a moment and highlight. One is our community scholarship program. So as you point out earlier, we take in scholarships, and over the history of the foundation, the thought was, I want to be able to set up that scholarship in honor of my mom, my dad, my brother, my child. And that's really important. I know that because when my mother passed away, I wanted to set up a scholarship in her name, right? But what we found was we were providing scholarships, and that was helping students get into college, but that didn't ensure they were going to actually graduate. Mm. And I'm sure you and your listeners know of people that have graduated but still have debt, or went to college, weren't able to finish, and have debt, right? How are they going to do this? So at the time, the foundation decided to make a shift, and that shift was, we want to focus on college degree attainment. What does it take? Who's not graduating? And so with that study, what they learned was there were three groups that were really challenged. First generation college students, because they don't know what they don't know, right? Mm-hmm. That campus can be really scary if you've not had anybody to give you the cheat codes on how to work it. Then you've got students of color, because there's been systematic disinvestment. And then low-income students, who oftentimes you find students that fit in all three of those categories, right? And that doesn't matter if you're living in an urban setting or a rural setting or even a suburban setting for that matter. And so there was a distinction made that we're going to invest in those students and help get them across the finish line. In order to do that, we had to provide scholarship dollars, but then we also provide a success coach, that person that can be their Sherpa, that they can call and they can ask questions, because maybe they've never heard of the term bursar before, so they're not sure why they're getting this letter, right?
Right.
But then we also have an emergency aid fund, and because of really generous donors, what that fund does is that if that student says, oh my goodness, I can't get to my part-time job because my something's wrong with my engine, or I need new tires, or I can't walk to class because I don't have boots and it's winter in Michigan.
Oh, wow.
Or you know what? My professor said I need this new software and I didn't budget for that and I don't have anything extra. They can contact us and we can provide those necessities that remove the barriers that prevent them from getting the degree. And to me, that's the difference between the scholarship, that's programmatic, and that's still important. We'll always need it. But those other wraparound supports, that's getting at the root causes. And our graduation rate for the students that come through our cohort is 70%.
Oh, really? That's incredible.
Yes.
How do they find out about you, though?
So we put that information out there. There's a wonderful woman on my staff. Her name is Mariellen Ferrero. She works with the local counselors. In order to qualify for this scholarship, you have to be in one of those categories and be a student who's graduated from a Washtenaw County high school. That's it.
You can go to AAACF.org to find out more information. AACF.org. That's the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation, which is doing for good, forever, for all. Just a fantastic organization of philanthropy here in our Washtenaw County community. Talking with Shannon Polk, the president and CEO. What are you going to be doing for the 60th anniversary?
Oh, my goodness. We've had some really fun events. We had a silent disco that we did last summer. We had a wonderful event for our donors to celebrate with them. We're going to be having an event at the Ann Arbor Summer Festival, but we're also excited everyone can come and join us for our annual community meeting that happens every year in the fall at Washtenaw Community College.
That'll be nice. When is that coming up?
That's going to be in September.
And again, details at AAACF.org. Shannon,
Yes.
Great talking with you. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking care of those in need here in our community and doing it in such a long-term way with the foundation and its work. We wish you well.
Thank you so much.
Shannon Polk, CEO and president of the Ann Arbor Area Community Foundation on Ann Arbor's Talk Station, 1290 WLBY.